Welcome. On today's show, are avocados rich in nutrients or as empty in nutrition as they are in taste? That's what some will say. Nutritionist Julia Karantjas makes her case for avocados. And let's learn how to clean the digital clutter out of our lives with Tech Expert Michael Babcock. My good heavens, haven't saw that name in a while on the show. Now, I know some of us are thinking of cleaning the avocados out of our diet, but please wait till the judge arrives shortly. Away we go.
This is Kelly and Company.
Kelly MacDonald here. Thank you for being with us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate it for you being with us. And hey, check out on our YouTube page. We've been putting up some of the vanity cards. I used to call them audio vanity cards. Can't just call them that now. They're part of the podcast feed too. But we put them up on YouTube and get some nice response there. I just wanted to remind you, we've kind of brought them back and intermittently are throwing some of them up there. And you can find that on the YouTube page or on the podcast. Nazreen Abdul-Majid, you can find right here on this program. Good day to you. Happy Monday.
Good day. I love hearing your vanity cards because it's like you bantering. I enjoy that.
They're fun sometimes. Sometimes they're fun unless I forget.
They are.
Thank you. I try to have some fun, and you know me and my slipping my little sound effects in and stuff like that. And then I remember, hey, come on, be presentable here. Be an adult. Grow up.
Be professional. No.
Yeah.
Since when?
And that's overrated. I went to the dentist today. They did some freezing. Okay. And do you ever worry when you have to do this job, now that you come in here and I start saying, hey, this Nazreen Abdul-Majid, if you are at the dentist, do you worry you're going to have like frozen lip or anything still and kind of sound funny?
Yes. And the thing is, they tell you this will last for like an hour. No, it doesn't. For me, it lasts like pretty much the whole day. I feel the numbing and I take sips of water and it just dribbles down my mouth.
They lie to you like that? My guy says 3 hours is what he said today, which was actually, today he fibbed because it was less, but usually he's right bang on. And I was asking him about it. How much freezing do you give us? How much do you stick in? Like how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you judge? And he explained it's a cartridge and so on and the whole kinds of ins and outs of it. But I find now, they'll either vibrate your wherever they're going to stick you with the needle after they've put some freezing in for the needle itself. But now the needle seems like it's in there forever. Deep breathe.
Right.
So you breathe
yes.
deep, but it's like they're and you want to say, would you quit it, man? You've got enough in there. Stop. And that's worse than anything else.
I thought it was just me because I had a dentist appointment like a couple weeks ago and same thing. I did the freezing, but it used to be like in, out, done.
Yeah.
Now
you'd almost hear a crunching noise. Like Remember the days you'd hear like
25 seconds. Yeah. And 25 seconds is a long time for you to be frozen. And I'm like, is it done yet? No. But no, it takes forever. My eyes start to water. The makeup just starts melting off. It's a whole image when I go to the dentist. they get to see everything.
I get a kick out of it because
when they tell me not to drink coffee afterwards, and I have to wait such a long time to be able to enjoy my cup of coffee.
How come you can't drink coffee? Just because of the spillage?
The numbing. They tell you it's so you don't burn your mouth because you don't feel your lips for a while. You don't feel your tongue for a while. So what if you just burn your tongue? And I don't know.
I've never had them say that as much as the mess, like, drinking it and it's just pouring onto my shirt. And I'm like, geez, I can't even taste this coffee or whatever. Oh, it's on my shirt. Oh, okay. I'll save that for later. But I find chewing is something I wouldn't do. I'd be just terrified. But afterward, the tooth feels great. The jaw feels sore from, breathe deeply, breathe deep, and then slowly let it out. That's it. As he's pushing that freezing into me. But certainly not as afraid as I was when I was a kid. And I used to have the idea that my tongue would freeze only because it was touching the area that they froze and my tongue would catch it. Like when I was a kid, I'd like, keep your tongue to the left, keep your tongue. He's working on the right. Your tongue will freeze. And of course, that's just what's part of the freezing and the sectors and the quadrant that takes out part of your tongue.
I think Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead,
go.
Danny.
I want to bring Danielle in too, but go ahead, finish your thought. We'll bring Danielle in here. Danielle Jongkind,
Yeah.
our veterinarian, with us. I'd love that kind of segue over to, well, we'll get to that in a sec. Nizreen, finish your thought.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I used to be when I was younger, I used to hate the feeling of the freezing, right? Now I just hate the forgive us for not knowing the actual terms for these tools, but the one that you actually feel the
Vibrate.
vibration on your teeth
Yeah.
and you feel your whole head vibrating. At the end of the appointment, your head starts throbbing. So I think that's the
Oh.
worst part of it for me.
Yeah, I think that's the one, Danielle, that she's talking about. There's the one that vibrates as a distraction before, as he's running that needle into you, or they're running the needle into you to freeze you. Welcome, Danielle. How are you with the dentist, and have you ever been afraid of going there?
I'm actually terrified of going to the dentist. I have some sort of I think I must have some sort of weird nerve that doesn't usually get hit with the freezing because I've had it a couple
Oh
of times
man.
where they've missed, the nerve and I'm like, "Oh no." So, it's one of those things that I really have to, like, sternly sit myself down and say, "Grow up.
So it doesn't,
Go to the
yeah, it
dentist."
doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier when you're an adult. You'd think that, we'd get over it as an adult, but I still have the the nerves, the clenchiness whenever I get to the dentist, and I'm just always scared when I get to the dentist. I just hate it. So I don't think it gets easier when you've become quote unquote an adult. It doesn't
Well,
make a
I was
difference,
fine
does
as a
it?
kid. Our
Oh,
our our
really?
dentist was really great as a kid, and I had no cavities, so it was all great, it's just when I got older and discovered that, yeah, we actually do have to do some freezing and fill some cavities, I was like, "Oh, okay, go ahead," but then I had, a couple of bad experiences, and now I'm like, oh, the dentist, oh no." So, I really have to force myself to go and then I roll my eyes because, of course, I'm a veterinarian and I know how important dental care is and to do a good job. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, come on, Danielle, for God's sake.
I have a
Yeah.
problem not being able to suck on hard candies. So I get them in my mouth. I keep telling myself, suck on it, suck on. Half of my visits now to repair teeth are because I've chewed on something and broken something. Usually one of
Oh
their
no.
fillings or something that I've done something dumb. And then one time I had a crown put on, but they put the temporary on and I forgot and threw a chewy candy in, ate on that side and pulled it right off. Right. So then I was
Oh,
like,
no.
oh. Danielle, especially with pets, as we segue over here, dental, that must be an interesting thing, with animals that need their dental work. And I know we've touched on it here too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the big difference, of course, being that we cannot do dental work on animals when they're awake
Mm-mm.
in a proper manner. So,
Right.
they
Hmm.
all have to have a general anesthesia in order to do a good job and assess them properly. I mean, no animal is going to let you have your fingers in their mouth and whatever for any length of time, and certainly not with tools in your hand. So yeah,
Yeah, they're going to
but
taste your
it's
blood
really important.
probably if they're doing that. They're going to like, oh, what does it taste like with your finger in there? You're inviting trouble. I mean, whereas human beings, a lot of us would say, I'd like to just go to sleep and let them do their business and finish up. But no, we've got to be aware. It's funny though, as you get older and they have to do more, all brave Danielle as a kid, now, oh man, no, I don't really want to go there. I can put this off. Folks, check out our YouTube page, as I mentioned, but also check out the podcast, as I also mentioned that. You could do that from your podcast platform of choice. Would you give us a rating and review while you're in there?
If you live with pets, you may have run into one of the following scenarios. A cat that no matter what you do somehow manages to cough up the pill you've given them over and over again. Or the small dog that looks at its medication laced dinner and refuses to eat it. What barriers do people face when trying to medicate their pets? Is there anything that can make this easier? Dr. Danielle Jongkind is here to chat about it. Danielle, do clients often express difficulty in giving medications to their pets?
For sure. This is a really common difficulty that veterinarians face. I'm sure I'm not the only one when
Hmm.
trying to help their patients. In an ideal world, we'd have, the magic bullet medication, and that would be the best medication to deal with a patient's problem and have the patient take that medication easily and have them get better. But, in reality, there are a lot of potholes along the road toward the best possible outcome. And
Hmm.
sometimes it takes some creative problem solving to get around them. And, I'm sometimes faced with like client factors which prevent an animal from receiving a medication and barriers that will come from the pet itself. So there's, some things that you have to sort of employ what I call the art of medicine a little bit, where you're like, okay, well, this would be the ideal solution, but that's not going to work for whatever reason. Let's, find out what else we can do instead.
Mm. Um, when you're dealing with so much of this, Danielle, obviously the barrier, like we were talking about a while ago with, hey, you're sticking your finger in the mouth. Well, no, we're not going to do that. But there's other things, obviously, that would solicit an unlikable reaction from the patient. But some of the other things I'm kind of curious about is reaction to medications. Like you said, the silver bullet would be great. But what should people look for in that aspect if their pet is put on something new and something starts to be a little different? Is any abnormal behavior?
Well, it really depends on the medication. I mean,
Right.
one of the things that veterinarians do is try and educate their patients on side effects, of the medication. Because no matter what kind of medication it is, there's always a potential for side effects. Even medications that are not what we call systemic, like even things that just go on the skin or whatever, could potentially have
Mm-hmm.
side effects. So, generally speaking, when your pet's prescribed a medication, usually the veterinarian or the technician or, some staff member at the clinic will go over the side effects with you, what to watch for, or they may be printed on the medication label. And, you can kind of keep an eye on those. And for sure, sometimes animals don't read the textbook. So if you notice anything strange after your pet has been put on a medication, for sure it's worthwhile to just put a call into your veterinarian and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Should I be concerned? And follow their instructions from there. Because I mean, you know, until a pet's really on a medication, sometimes there's no way to predict that they're going to have a side effect,
Mm.
right? So you just
Hmm.
have to kind of try it and, hope that things go well. And most of the time they do.
Is there
We have a
resistance
risk.
though? Like do pets, whether they've been on it or not for a while, is there a lot of cases like there are with us humans where this one's just it's not taking, it's not doing well, or outside
Hmm.
of a reaction? Is there just any resistance that the body may have? Is that common with pets?
Really depends again on the medication.
Right.
Certainly, we have bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons we do a lab test called culture and sensitivity. We also will have, some animals that become what we call refractory. That's the medical term to certain medications because their body metabolizes them too fast, or they stop working. We see sometimes other conditions that interfere with medication. So, for example,
Hmm.
diabetes. If you have an animal on
Oh.
insulin
Hmm.
and they have a urinary tract infection, sometimes that can promote insulin resistance, which means the medication doesn't work as well. So, if you find your pet's been on a medication and they're not responding, then again, to contact your veterinarian and let them know because maybe there's something else going on. Maybe your pet just is no longer responding to that medication, or maybe the condition you're treating isn't responding to it. So that does happen occasionally as well.
Wow. Hmm.
And what
As a
if
blind person, I'd wonder if
you're,
I was giving it correctly. That would be the thing,
yeah.
right? That would really be a concern for me.
Well, and that's
Mm,
a thing too, right? About people not being able to correctly give the medication, either because they're not sure how to do it, or we often have like barriers that clients face when giving a pet medication. So, like cost, is certainly one thing. There's cost. ideally, like, would be low for all medications, but the reality is sometimes they're not. And especially you have a really large breed dog or something, sometimes the cost for certain medications can be like unbelievable. So, that's something that you want to think about. Sometimes the ability of a client to administer a medication, especially if the pet is uncooperative. So, some clients can certainly, poke one of those pills down their pet's throat if they don't want to take it. But, other clients, people with disabilities, sometimes the elderly, they may have real trouble getting medication in. Like, for example, if I wanted to prescribe a medicated bath for a dog with a skin condition, I can't
Mhm.
expect a frail elderly client to lift a giant golden retriever into the tub for a regular bath. It's just not
Yeah.
reasonable.
No.
Yeah. So you got to kind of think about things. And of course, the other thing I sometimes run into with clients is, they're hesitant about drugs and medications. Like they're so concerned over side effects that, they're really hesitant to give their pet a medication. And, that risk really scares some people, no matter how small the risk is, and the risk of, denying the pet that treatment, sometimes people are like, you know what, I just don't want to do anything. But then that can really affect the pet's quality of life too. So, some of those client barriers are a little bit tough.
You'd think that for pets it would be a little easier for these barriers, but no, it's the same barriers that humans go through, and we're going through the same thing, whether it's the cost, the the medication, everything about it. We're hesitant about taking certain types of medication. Giving it to our pets would be the same barriers. So
Yeah. Except the
it's
pet can't
bizarre
say,
to me.
this is hurting me, or I'm feeling sick because
Yeah,
when I take this, or
that's a
tell
tough
me
part.
what's wrong. That would be awful.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
um I was gonna ask that, okay, let's say the pet spit out those medications that you've just given. Are there any alternative ways to kind of give those medications?
Sure. So, I think the main thing to take away from all of this is, that the trick to overcoming some of these barriers and these potholes, like if you have pets that spit medication out or you've got cost issues or something like that, is really to be honest with your veterinarian about these challenges that you're facing. As a rule, like vets are trained to solve problems. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of comes with the job. So, if you make sure that those concerns are known, then they can help you to resolve them. But we can certainly
Mhm.
look at some of these possible solutions. So for things like cost, if you really can't afford a medication that's recommended for your pet, then let your vet know. They might be able to prescribe a different medication that will have a similar effect. Of course, the good thing about that may be reducing the costs, but there may be some cons as well, like maybe an increased risk of side effects or more undesirable side effects. And of course, that's something that, you and your vet can have a conversation about. There may be an option to get a written prescription so you can get the medication from another pharmacy. Um, the laws, of course, differ on this throughout Canada, and they're governed by the provincial regulators. I know here in Ontario, veterinarians are required to give you a written prescription to a client that asks for it to take it to a pharmacy of their choice. But having said that, veterinary specific medications are not available in human pharmacies, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Um, Reducing any sort of medication hesitancy, comes down to educating clients about the likelihood of the risks and the benefits of the medication. So, trying to allay
Hmm.
some of those fears, right? And of course, for the poor pet, who doesn't know it or care about any of this, sometimes we have alternate forms of medication. So, they might accept a flavored chewable or a liquid better than a tablet or a capsule. In some cases, there may be an injectable option that can be given at the veterinary clinic or at home. And in some cases, they're even what we call transdermal medications. So that can be smeared on the inside of the ear. And the pros of this, of course, are, easy to get the meds in, much easier, right? And the
Mhm.
cons can sometimes be costs. Some of those are more expensive because they're what we call compounded medication. And and that the compounded medications are not specifically tested or approved by Health Canada. So your vet has to, let you know all the potential benefits and risks of taking those as well.
Mhm.
And, sometimes we can talk about alternate forms of therapy. So, for example, a pet suffering from arthritis may indeed need pain medication, but you might be able to reduce the amount of pain medication or eventually get them off it if you also work on weight loss and rehabilitation therapy. So, sometimes these methods can help eventually reduce the medication load as well.
Mm. Danielle,
Amazing.
if something's not a topical medication, it's something that might be oral or need to be injected by a vet, whatever it might be on that level. And this is thought of from my conversation with my dentist actually earlier, as he mentioned, he's applying a local anesthetic to freeze the area, and not a big deal whether you're a younger person, older person, the size of a person. But if you're looking at a pet and have to take into account the size, whether it's a regular medication, do you guys find that you do a fair amount of the math, the figuring that out? Is that something that when it gets into medication, obviously it's pretty important to give the right size dose?
Yes. And, it was actually, interestingly, a conversation I had with my own medical doctor many years ago, in that, she said that, with rare exceptions, like generally, like they have one dose for everybody. But, in veterinary medicine, we always go on a milligrams per kilogram dose. So many milligrams per kilogram of body weight. Because when you have everything from, a little tiny teacup Yorkie right up to a Great Dane, there's a big difference. And then as far as cost goes with medication, we're often giving estimates. I wouldn't dream of dispensing an antibiotic for a huge dog without warning somebody that, by the way, this might be a lot of money because of the size of your pet.
Mm,
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle.
You're welcome.
Very helpful. That was our veterinarian, Dr. Danielle Jongkind, telling us about any barriers people face when trying to medicate their pets.
So I really found that interesting, especially, I mean, obviously I understand there's going to be a difference in with size and amount that you're giving, but just how difficult it would be. And I know as a person with a disability, if I'm taking care of my pet, I want to be able to be as self-sufficient and take care of my pet. I don't want to have to rely, or because you get that fear, right? Just like I said about the pet not speaking. Well, what if the pet isn't feeling well? What if I don't catch that, hey, this is having a bad effect on my pet?
Yeah.
And that's some of the same concerns you'd have whether, if you have a disability, either being able just to carry out doing that, taking care of your pet, having to ask someone else, or not being able to hear or see some kind of reaction that might give you a tip that this is not going well.
Yeah, or you're wondering if you're, overreacting about something, because at the end of the day, it is costly. But at the same time, you don't want to ignore some signs that you don't want to ignore any signs, period. No. That's for sure.
And I'd hate that to be the decision. Obviously, the costly, and it definitely is for many people. Is this too costly? Yeah. Should I be giving this? Is there another alternative?
Yeah,
it's reality.
Unfortunately, in this economy, that's reality. That's
with things getting potentially worse, even, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can email us if you have questions, comments, want to make a suggestion to the program, kellyco@ami.ca. We'd absolutely love to hear from you, and you can give us a call. We'd love to hear your voice, too. 1-866-509-4545. If you have maybe something you'd like to suggest, something you'd like to say, maybe put it in a verbal message to us, and we can play it on the air and then weigh in on it and have a conversation. 1-866-509-4545. Avocados. To some, they're rich and delicious. To others, they're mushy and tasteless. So the question, are they rich in nutrients or as empty in nutrition as they are in taste? Now, that's the possibility, the comment out there, that potentially one of those foods where, when someone throws something away, somebody's garbage is someone else's gold. Nutritionist Julia Karantjas is here to make the case on this. Julia, welcome back to the show. And I find this interesting because no matter who you ask, they're going to have that different take on avocados, not just how they use it, how they ingest it, but literally to them, is it sweeter or not?
Yeah, this is a debate I will always partake in, and I feel like a lot of people have a stance on avocados similar to that of cilantro, just in a different category. I mean, cilantro either.
We're getting that audio blurps again on you, Julia. We're just gonna try refreshing.
Sound like a robot.
Yeah, you're doing that mechanical noise. Yeah, so we'll see if we can get you sorted out there. Because Nisreen, I asked Grant and Jacob on AMI today their viewpoints, and Jacob's a big fan, the use of it, but always it's used with something. And I get that in his cases, that's how he uses it to complement something mixed in with something. But some people have the avocado on toast, so I have to believe for them, that's like when I was a kid and Mom would throw brown sugar on toast. Yay!
No, for me, avocado is one of those things that I wish I loved it, just eating it just like that. I don't need to add it to a salad to like it. I don't need to spread it on a toast to like it, with a little bit of salt and a little bit of lemon. That sounds really good. Just thinking about it. Or I don't need to make it into a guacamole dip. I wish I could just like it as is and just take bites of it, just and enjoy it. But for me, it's the texture, man. It's the texture that makes me really get away. So I really have to smush it, spread it on toast to like it, or make them into little diced pieces into a salad. Do you get me, Julia?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered, because some people just eat it just like that. Others have to mix it in with stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the first time I tried it, I didn't actually, I was I think I was 20, maybe 19, and somebody had put it in a salad. I didn't know they had put it in the salad, and I thought I was eating some leaves that had gone bad. I was like, okay, I'm just going to be polite and not say anything. And then...
Did you complain to anybody about it and say, hey, man, what are you putting this bad wilty stuff in here for?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then, eventually I realized that she was just slicing avocado into the salad and everything was fine.
Madam, get out.
But it took me a minute, so I could see, I really feel like I can empathize when people say that they don't like the texture. It's a big turnoff, and that's fine. Yeah. But I do think you can use the texture in a positive way. So first of all, avocados are rich in nutrients, and so they are very important in a diet. They're a great source of polyunsaturated fat, which we know is great for our heart, skin, so many things, also to help absorb fat-soluble nutrients. They're also high in lots of different vitamins and minerals. Vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin A, some phytonutrients as well. So I do think it's worth it to explore the world of avocados and see if it's something that you could incorporate into your diet. We do need to have a healthy source of fat almost with every meal. And you're not always going to be eating, nuts and seeds all the time. And so the avocado also gives you some variety. You can use the creaminess, like I said. So you could mush it on bread with salt and pepper on a sandwich instead of mayonnaise bread, or incorporate it, like use half mayonnaise and half avocado. You can also blend it with dates, maple syrup, and cocoa powder, and it makes like a chocolate pudding. And because the avocado is so tasteless, it sweetens and flavors very easily. So it's really easy to camouflage in that regard. And, I always go back to smoothies because, again, it's so tasteless. So you can add it to your smoothie and you won't.
A lot of people say that, right? They'll throw it in there because, Julia, as you're saying these things that you could use it, the way you could disguise it, then you get the debate, well, if you're putting it in with this and that, does that not take away the nutritional, the value, the importance of it? But like you're suggesting, guys, you got to remember, if something's going to entice you to eat it, it doesn't take away, in this case, adding those other things, mixing it in the way you're talking. It's value. It's still the fat quantity is important.
Exactly. I think if anybody made a smoothie tomorrow morning and all they put in it was, let's say fruit and a milk and either dairy or non-dairy, and maybe protein powder if you had it. And then by lunch, I think you would be hungry. And then if the next day you made the same smoothie and added in a quarter of an avocado, I do think you would feel a difference. I really think that people would know
filling.
That they feel fuller.
Yeah, I agree. It is very filling. And I love the idea of just disguising the texture, because that was my turnoff for the longest time. Again, I always wished it was one of those things that I really liked, I really enjoyed it and I could eat it with anything.
But you can eat it on toast though, Nazreen? Like, you're okay with the texture there?
I learned, after I started a diet, I learned to love it. After a few days, I was like, ugh, the texture. But when you actually smooth it out, you don't feel the texture as much because it's smooth. It's not.
That's what I like. Yeah.
Yeah, when it's actually smushed into like a dip, that's when you can actually enjoy it. For myself,
I mean, I'm fine with it either way. I'm fine with it just as.
So you don't care about the texture?
No, for whatever reason, it doesn't. I've learned to not let that bother me. It's like people that say, ew, that looks like something unedible and stuff like that. I've learned to, keep eating, right? It's just something I've never allowed that to affect me, because my view is you wouldn't eat anything then. And I don't know, as we go back to the pineapple debate, which we'll save for another day, is it actually a vegetable or fruit?
Oh, it's fruit.
Oh, okay.
It's a fatty fruit like an olive. It's flesh around.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's flesh around a seed, which is technically it's a fruit, even though we call it a pit. But it's fatty fruit like an olive is, which is it's interesting.
Actually, we did have this conversation before where I was like, no, it's a vegetable, and you taught us, Julia, that no, it's actually a fruit. I was blown away. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Not one that you would put in a fruit salad, but that is technically, yes, if you trace its, kingdom, phylum, it's part of its kingdom. It's from the plant, and it's definitely in that fruit family, which is, that's like a fun fact. But it's a health, I would think about it as a health food. I mean, if you're looking to fortify your diet or ways to incorporate more nutritious food in your diet, an avocado is a great option. And if you had a wrap, you could smear it on the wrap or mash it with salsa, and then do chicken and cheese and lettuce and have some chicken fajita kind of wrap situation. So you can hide it. You can incorporate it.
And that's what I know it as, really something like taking it, having it with cheese, having it in a sandwich, because Nazreen, just the presence of it, right? And like Julia said, every day you gotta have some of it. It's a positive fat versus other things that, again, you can get fats elsewhere and stuff like that. But I think it's one of those things that gives you a different sustenance, fills you up, and maybe adds a bit of variety instead of just going for peanuts or something like that, because I believe, Julia, peanuts and things like that are another source of fat, but this gives you either a range, or it's would one say a healthier fat than some of the other healthy fats?
I don't know if I would say that, but I do think you're getting different nutrients. You're getting fiber with this one. Not all fats will give you fiber. So that's really kind of a very cool, right? A very cool angle to look at it at, because, you could have olive oil, which is a very healthy fat, but you don't get fiber. You also get potassium in an avocado, which we know is great for bone health. We know that we need potassium and sodium to stay properly hydrated. And so that, again, is a nutrient that you wouldn't get in other oils or other healthy fats, because it, it's just not there. It's not in the food of it. So there's all these other benefits when you're eating avocado, because it's whole food and it's fat, fiber, and now we get all these nutrients because it's a whole food. So it's it's so cool. It's just so cool.
It's easier too, isn't it, than a lot of other, you talk about adding different things for different reasons, but when you hear, add avocado, it's a easier thing to add to that smoothie, to spread on, to put it, pound it down and spread on stuff. It's more one of those things that has less, I gotta prepare my avocado. I gotta do, it's not something that's as arduous.
Exactly. And you're not necessarily going to pour olive oil all over your wrap, because when you pick it up to eat it, it's just going to drip out the bottom. You're going to get so messy. But the avocado wouldn't do that, and you would still get a good fat, which is, very satiating. So fat's very satiating for people. When you eat a meal, you want to feel not hungry and fulfilled, and that's what these fats do, is that they satiate you so that you're not feeling unsatisfied after you've eaten. And if if you're at work, you have a set amount of time to eat a meal, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable after that you've eaten it, and because you might not have time to keep eating. So fat is so helpful, and the avocado, I think, is just a great way to get it in, and it gives us all these awesome nutrients. So it's an important one.
Nazreen, what's your favorite way to have avocado?
Like I said, spread it all over a toasted slice of bread, and add some salt and pepper, maybe a dash of lemon, because I like it lemony a little bit. But so good. Yeah.
And Julia, are you the pudding fan, or just eat it like it is, even at times if you're on the go, on the rush, throw it in something?
I definitely have made pudding. It is a lot of work and cleanup for me to do the pudding. It's not my favorite thing to do, although I enjoy eating it. But I'm a big fan of chopping it with just tomato and having it as like a condiment next to chicken or part of a salad. So I like it on its own. I'm not turned off by the texture, and I find the taste neutral. So I definitely am with Nazreen on this, where I need some salt and pepper. Like, I need to add something to it, but I do like it. And I'll smear it over bread. I'll put an egg on top. I know avocado toast is very trendy, but for good reason. And I will also incorporate it into sandwiches as a way to moisten the sandwich. So I like it as is. I'm happy to eat it like that.
So was it one of those things that you learned to love, or naturally
because you knew that for your diet?
You liked it? Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. I did learn to love it. I wasn't in love with it when I first started eating it. I think it's because my first experience was such a turnoff, because I thought it was wilty lettuce. But I played around with it, and I like variety in my diet. I like having options. When I'm sick of eating something, I want something else to turn to. And the avocado fills so many holes in the diet that it just was a big miss to not try to incorporate it.
Well, I like the idea of hiding it, like you said, in a smoothie, putting it maybe in that set where maybe you could do multiple times in a day. Michael Babcock hanging out with us here too. Michael, you're a thumbs up person on avocado, right?
No, I am a thumbs down 100% person on avocado. Although my wife claims to say that I actually like it because she adds it to food without telling me. And she's like,
that's what my mom does to my dad. Yeah. My dad hates it. So yeah. She puts it in salads and tries to disguise it.
Yes, you can buy frozen avocado. I mean, because you can buy so many different fruits and vegetables frozen. They do have avocado. So you can do chunks of avocado in your smoothies.
And that's where you would take it, do your mushing it, and do what Nazreen and you do on toast. Maybe that would be the way, Michael, to get yourself sort of throw that egg on top of it. Or would you indulge? Do you know what it is, Michael, that she hides it in?
So apparently I always say I don't want it on a sandwich, but when she forgets to take it off the sandwich, I like it. And I ask her, I say, what did you do? It tastes so good.
What's that elusive taste?
Just right.
Amazing.
Smart.
Oh wow, the lettuce on this tastes really good. I'm glad, Michael. That's really well. But I think that's the thing that this offers up. Whether you have it, Jacob today on the show, it's always in something else, mixed in somewhere else. So one would say, well, how do you know if you like it if it's all mixed in and you really can't taste? Obviously he can. You throw it in a smoothie, same thing. But the key here, Julia, gotta ingest it. Gotta have some of it once in a while. Give yourself some alternatives.
Yes, I think it's worth making an effort to see if you can get it into the diet in a way that works for you. I do.
Okay. Well, thank you. The judge has come back and given us that sentence there, and then let us know. Indeed, man. Indeed. Julia, thanks for making the great case for avocados today. We'll talk to you next week. Michael, anything said there that has changed your mind about it? Like, will you now just kind of, now that you've said something to your wife, now it'll suddenly disappear off the sandwiches? I know he doesn't like it.
I think it's the texture. I think if she can hide it or someone can hide it good enough that I don't get the texture, then I think I have no problem with it. I don't think it has anything to do with the flavor. It's just, to me, it's slimy, and I don't like too much slimy stuff. And so I think that's really what plays into it.
One other food, each of you, that you kind of know texture is the reason you won't eat it. Niz?
Okay, come back to me.
Okay. Michael, Michael, I'm sure you have one right there. I knew she has to sort out which one.
Yeah, I was thinking come back to me, but I'll take one, Nezreen. Don't worry. I'll give you some minutes to think about it. For me, and this is going to sound weird, it's not overly cooked bacon. I like my bacon to be crunchy / hard / it'll break off in your mouth. If that is at all a little, floppy bacon, soggy. I am not interested at all. I will eat it for the most part, but I'll tell you, in the back of my mind, I'll be thinking, this is nasty. But no floppy bacon for me.
See, I'm of the burnt kind. Any well done bacon, if it's too well done, it almost changes the taste of it, and it just tastes like burnt something. But I used to always have the very soggy, floppy. My mother used to get sick. She said, it's like I'm putting it in the frying pan for you and taking it right out. And but now I've graduated to a little bit more. Niz, you got one?
Yes, I do. Okay, I love sushi, but sashimi took me a while to get used to because of the texture.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's slimy.
I love it.
It's hard to chew sometimes, depends on
But it's
the
like
type
tuna,
of sashimi.
though. Yeah, definitely. But it's no different than salmon or tuna. Or do you hide that in stuff too?
I hide that and stuff. I don't know. Like when it's rolled into a sushi roll, I can pretend it's not there. Like it tastes so good mixed with the rice and the wrap and everything like that and the cucumber. But when it's by itself and it's just plain sashimi and people actually just take a bite of that sashimi piece, that's hard to get used to. But I did, and I'm now like all for it, except raw salmon. I don't like. Yeah.
So my thing would be, and it's crazy, but it'd be ground beef. This is where everybody gets on me about not being a big meatloaf person. I don't like the texture of hamburger. If you ground it up, throw it in something, or have on a burger, I don't mind it because it's pounded right down. But you got to have other stuff on it, because if I was just, oh my God, if I touched my tongue to it, ew, it feels funny. Like it's just one of those things. I don't know, but I've always had to disguise it. I used to always say I eat a hamburger for the junk on it, not necessarily the meat. Which is probably a bald-faced lie.
Are you not a taco eater then?
Oh my God, I'm a big taco eater.
No, it's hidden though, because you've got all your bean and everything, right? And it's mixed in. I like it. I love it, but I don't. As soon as my tongue goes over it, but it's got to be something like more like hamburger. I don't want to say hamburger helper. I'm not really positive. I know for sure what that is, but when you get into something that anything you can touch the actual. Oh, if you have ground beef just sitting there and I get a bit of it, the roughness makes me, that's the only thing. Yeah. And it's the weirdest thing that I've had with this kind of thing. It's really kind of strange. I couldn't tell you how come. Folks, we're looking for members of the disability community, not to eat hamburger, but to join our AMI research panel. Our research panel guides us with every decision we make at AMI, including programming, media consumption, and accessibility. Participants, whoever happen to jump into some of our special long-form studies that we do, are completely compensated for their time. For more information, and if you want to join, go to ami.ca/panel, because we'd love to hear from you. Also, for the program, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Lots of great stuff always put out there that you can indulge in and enjoy. That's at Kelly & Co. AMI. Please do follow along. Interact. Nazreen loves it. We all love it. Love to know you're out there and love to be able to talk about it here on the show. So, Michael, let's get back to your honesty here. I know there's always so much of it. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Be honest with yourself, sir, and the rest of us out there. How organized is your online life? Now, with Michael here, he's got some tips for us. So I got to say, he's probably pretty good to help clean up this online clutter that we would have. Michael, with our devices completely always accumulating digital clutter, how can we streamline these digital lives of ours?
Do what I say and not what I do. That's probably the best way to start.
I knew that was coming too. This is all great stuff. Thumbs up on it, but I do thumbs down.
I mean, while we were preparing for the segment, by the way, apparently I'm having some internet issues, so if you lose me, just bear with me. Appreciate it.
Well, Nazreen will pick up the ball. She declutters constantly.
There we go.
I got you.
Yeah, she's the cleanest digital person ever, right?
That's right.
Sure. I don't know where you got that information, but sure.
Social media, because social media never lies. Oh, so
never.
Definitely was, as we were coming on, I'm like, oh, I should go clean up my downloads folder real quick, which means press Command A, delete, and then go to the trash and delete it. I went from 280 gigabytes free to 340 gigabytes free. So what is that, like 60 gigabytes of cleaned up downloads?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit
That's
extreme,
amazing.
just saying. So I use my downloads folder as a temporary folder, just because it makes it so much easier to be able to just get things in one place and then find it. I've used a tool, we'll talk about it here in a moment, on the Mac to clean that up. And if I didn't use this other tool, I probably would have cleaned up like 500 or 600 gigabytes, because it is ridiculous how much stuff we download and where things go. I use a tool on the Mac called Hazel. Windows has a similar tool called File Juggler. However, because accessibility is important to all of us, File Juggler, last time I tried it about 2-3 years ago, was not accessible at all. So my comments on that is to be diligent about how you're organizing your folders. But for example, with my downloads folder, if I download a file from an online service I use called Alphonic, and that file has certain text in the title of that file, it will move that file without me having to do anything over to a folder. And if it's an MP3 file, it'll put it in the MP3s folder inside of that folder. If it's an HTML, TXT, or PDF file, it'll put it in the transcripts folder. And so that automatically organizes my files based on the file type and any other credentials that are related to that specific file. So again, that's called Hazel on the Mac. Probably one of the best $30 I ever spent. And they upgraded. And I'm like, I don't know what features are new, but you know what? I'm going to pay you because you released a new version. So I think I've spent like $50 on Hazel in the last couple of years. That's good for keeping your files organized. But if you don't have an organized folder structure, maybe you need to sit down and think about what files do I have and where do these files need to go? For the longest time, I may or may not still live this way in some instances. Documents meant all of my documents go in there, not organized at all in any sort of folder, because I had a problem with when I put something in a folder. What folder did I put that in? Did I put that in the AMI folder? Did I put that in the audio production folder? That's when you want to use tools. I have not personally used this tool, but I've talked to several people on Windows who really enjoy it, called Everything. And Everything will let you search based on contents in your file. And it is accessible, it is very fast, and it might help you with keeping your stuff more organized. On the Mac, I use a tool called LaunchBar, and LaunchBar allows me to, again, quickly search for content that's either in the file or in the file title. So Nazreen or Kelly, how do you guys find stuff when you are organizing it?
Oh, good heavens. I really don't.
Okay.
I don't even know how to use searches. Wow.
Yeah.
Like I sit there and say, okay, I'm going to put this and search for a word. And that's, I think, the most ambitious I get.
I get very wordy when I name files so that when I search for it, it will come up. I do I am
That's
very
like having a convention, like your own
files.
naming convention.
I'm not writing an essay, okay, for the titles exactly, but I am very wordy with it, okay? I have become more, I don't want to say I've become more very organized with my files, but like I've been better, okay?
I will say I have
difference.
because I can't search for anything, so I have to be more organized.
Check out
first letter. I put them all in one folder, maybe. I try to delete what I don't need, which is not exactly the truth, because there's stuff in my head. Yeah, I put that in there 20 years ago, but I'll still need it. And then first letter navigation to go down through whatever folder. But I find it, if I had to go look for certain things, I think like Nazreen, even though she's got her long naming convention, thing there going on, I probably could find something within a reasonable time if I needed to. And again, Michael, I'm not moving the amount of stuff you are around. There's no way, Michael. AMI doesn't pay me enough to move enough stuff around.
I have a 1 terabyte hard drive in this MacBook Pro, and I find it very hard to believe that I was okay with 256 gigs not 2 years ago. There was a lot of sacrifices made. I find it interesting that none of us use tags. Some users use tags to organize their files. To me, I always forget, did I capitalize that tag? Did I leave it lowercase? Yep. Did I put multiple words in there? And that's why I don't use them.
That's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. You always forget what you use first, and that messes you up.
Because you change it, don't you? Because you say, like, this is difficult. I'm going to make it easier. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at one point, you feel like it's just too late.
Yeah, exactly. And you've already put all your files into different tags. A tool that I need to be more diligent at using, that people might say, why are you thinking about that tool? And this might help Nazreen as well with her long file titles. I wonder if there's a specific length of file titles, 3 pages, 4 pages. Anyways, so you can use a tool called Text Expander. Text Expander will let you formulate how you want your titles to look, and then it can even pop up a little edit box. So maybe your titles all start with Kelly Co. script 4, and then it'll pop up a little dialogue that asks you what the date is, and you can put in the date there or something like that. So that could help you with organizing those files. But really come up with something that is more structured for you that you're able to follow. Now, let's transition into app clutter, because on my phone, I think I've got like 21 gigabytes free. Now I have a baby phone. At least that's what the storage is, because I have a 64 gigabyte phone. It might be 120. It's whatever the smallest iPhone 14 Pro Max is.
I thought that was 2 something.
What was that?
Isn't it? I thought it was.
Yep.
I thought it was 2 something. It might be 128. It might be 128, but I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it's 128 on that one. Yeah, but I will tell you that I have to delete apps on occasion. It tells me that my apps or that I've run out of space, so I can't install apps. So the tips that I got from some very smarter than I digital assistants or chatbots were that you should evaluate whether or not you use an app within the last 60 days. And I'm guilty of it. I don't know about you guys, but I have apps on my phone that I probably installed, opened, and then closed and have never used again. So every once in a while I'll go through and I'll delete those apps and clean them up. That saves up some storage. Photos don't take up as much room for me anymore that I've noticed.
Oh my God,
I think because a lot of that's stored in iCloud.
I have the opposite problem. Definitely.
I do like the offloading. Like,
you guys are gonna judge me so bad, but my photos are like at 15,000.
Good grief!
Pictures and videos. Okay. This is a confession.
Well,
no judgment.
Here we go. If you haven't looked at one of those in the last 60 days, delete. I like the offloading of the apps.
I'm not self-absorbed. But no, the apps, I clean them out pretty quick. Like if I haven't used them in the last
the names of them would take forever too, because they'd all be long names. Michael, the offloading feature too is pretty darn good, right? When it sweeps that stuff off your device.
It is, unless you're out and about, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I haven't opened the Lyft app, but there's no Uber here, and I need to open Lyft, and then your internet's super slow. But yes, offloading your apps and using, and for those who don't know, offloading means that the icon stays on your phone, but the app and the app data gets removed to iCloud. So that way, when you need the app, you tap on the app icon or double tap if using VoiceOver, and then that'll bring the app back down to your phone and restore your data. And that can be really helpful too.
Okay. It's spring. We can keep this declutter going maybe next time you're with us, because I know we want to get into email, and I think a lot of us would want to kind of work on that, unless you think you just want to say something within 30 seconds. But I have a feeling that will take a little more, especially if Nisreen's naming it. Thanks a lot, pal.
You guys have a great rest of your couple of moments of show.
Yeah, you enjoy your sandwich too with your sneaked on. Gee, what is that elusive taste?
Vigorously shake my head no.
The avocado man with us. Michael joins us every couple of weeks here. We talk, of course, tech and so many things involved with, and some things to help us out. Nisreen, we'll catch you tomorrow for a shorter edition of the show, as we have Parasport Nation following us on AMI Audio.
Chat soon.
And thank you. On our next show, folks, accessibility isn't just about design. It's about dignity, representation, and building community. Fresh from the 2025 APN conference, Marco Pasqua reflects on how this year's theme, Building for People, challenges us to go beyond code and right into the heart of inclusive design. On the next edition of Kelly & Company, I'm waving at you.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly & Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.